Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before beginning with our work, I would like to give you the following information for the conduct of our work of this morning. As indicated in the Bureau meeting this morning, and as all you know, we have a lot to do in our morning session before adopting the report of decision this afternoon. Therefore, I would propose to follow the following schedule for the examination of items this morning. We will first of all consider item 7A concerning the state of conservation of the Old City of Jerusalem and its walls, followed by the adoption of Decision 7 concerning some general conservation issues which was left pending until after completion of items 7B and 7A. Then we will examine item 8C, which concerns the update of the list and of the list in danger. We have also to consider the draft decisions proposed by the working groups under items 11 on operational guidelines and 15 on budget. We have also to take a decision on item 13A regarding the outcomes of the ad hoc working group. Furthermore, and as decided on Monday, we will consider item 8A on tentative lists. Finally, we will conclude our morning session by examining the agenda of our next session. In this regard, please note that document 18 is being distributed to you this morning, as we had to wait until the completion of our work to finalize it. Dear colleagues, as you know, item 7A has remained open as we still have to examine a draft decision 40-7A13 regarding the state of conservation of the Old City of Jerusalem and its walls. Dear colleagues, as you know, the Secretariat circulated last Friday the draft decision on this agenda item. It is my understanding that the draft decision before us reflects a compromise reached following long-lasting efforts in Istanbul and thereafter. It is a culmination of consultations based on goodwill. It shows UNESCO's special status in the international system. UNESCO is indeed the only organization that operates on the principle that divergences could be solved through negotiation, resolution, and consensus. I believe that the adoption of this decision by the World Heritage Committee by consensus will be a strong message to all parties concerned, as well as the international community in relation with our joint endeavors towards the protection of our common cultural heritage, and it will also foster understanding between peoples. Therefore, while thanking all parties concerned for their efforts to reach an agreement over this, I would strongly propose not to open a debate on this item and proceed to the adoption of this draft decision as it is by consensus. May I ask to the members of the committee if there are any objections to my proposal to close the debate and proceed directly to the adoption of the decision as it stands. I see representative of Tanzania is asking for the floor. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania would like to propose that the decision be adopted by a secret ballot. according to Rule 41 of the operational guidelines.
Croatia, you have the floor.
The delegation of Croatia supports the proposal of Tanzania.
Thank you. Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We support your proposal.
Thank you. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam. Indonesia would also like to support your suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. And representative of Cuba.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La délégation de Cuba veut soutenir aussi votre proposition. Merci.
Thank you. Tunisia. Representative of Angola, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Nous voulons joindre notre voix au consensus. Merci. Donc nous soutenons votre proposition.
Thank you. Representative of Tunisia.
Merci Madame la Présidente. C'est pour exprimer le soutien de la délégation tunisienne à votre proposition, appelant au consensus. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Representative of Kuwait.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Et également la délégation de Koweït soutient votre proposition.
Kazakhstan, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, we would like to support the consensus decision.
Turkey is asking for the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Turkey would also like to support your proposal. Thank you.
Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Azerbaijan joins the consensus and supports your proposal.
אני הולך אליה.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I see that the majority of the committee is in favor of closing the debate on this matter, on this item. And joining the consensus. But of course, I have to turn to the legal advisor as one country asked for secret vote and another one seconded that. What will be the situation for voting?
Mr. Chairperson, Madam Chair, paragraph 41 is very clear about it. There is no other option.
No.
I gave the floor to the legal advisor to make an explanation.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais vous rappeler qu'effectivement, suite à la proposition que vous avez faite, 2 membres du comité ont demandé un vote au scrutin secret. À cet égard, je voudrais vous rappeler les dispositions de l'article 41 du règlement intérieur qui stipule que le vote a lieu au scrutin secret chaque fois que la demande en est faite par 2 membres du comité au moins. Donc l'article 41 devrait s'appliquer en la matière. Merci Madame la Présidente.
So we adjourn the meeting for 5 minutes.
question. Bonjour, Madame la Présidente, s'il vous plaît, il y a une question d'ordre. Nous voudrions savoir sur quoi nous votons. Est-ce que nous votons sur votre proposition? Est-ce que nous votons sur le texte? Sur quoi votons-nous?
We will put the question on the screen.
Excusez-moi, Madame la Présidente, une question d'ordre encore une fois.
Yes, Ambassador, representative of
Oui,
Lebanon, you have
voilà, on a compris que nous allons voter en vote secret sur le projet de décision. Nous avions compris, au contraire, que le vote en vote secret concernait votre proposition, c'est-à-dire voter est-ce que nous adoptons par consensus ou non. C'est ce que nous avions compris, et nous avions compris que les demandes de vote concernaient votre proposition et non pas le projet de décision.
May I give the floor, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to give the floor to the legal advisor to raise the question that we will vote for.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais vous rappeler qu'effectivement, suite à la proposition qui a été faite pour mettre en œuvre l'article 41 du règlement intérieur Je vais mettre le micro un petit peu plus près. Voilà, vous m'entendez mieux? Voilà. Merci Madame la Présidente. Effectivement, pour faire suite à la demande de vote à scrutin secret qui a été avancée par 2 membres du comité conformément à l'article 41 du règlement intérieur du comité, vous êtes amené à voter comme il est indiqué sur vos écrans, sur les écrans qui sont derrière moi, si vous êtes en faveur ou non du projet de décision 40 comme 7-13 qui a été soumis par le Koweït, le Liban et la Tunisie sur la vieille ville de Jérusalem et ses remparts, site proposé par la Jordanie. Merci Madame la Présidente.
My dear friend, as we have started the procedure for the voting, I think I do not have the right to open the floor for debate again. Isn't it? Point of order.
There is no debate
Okay.
during the vote.
It's a point of order.
Jag ser det här.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais vous rappeler qu'en ce qui concerne la conduite des droits de vote, c'est l'article 36 qui régit, cette conduite, et il est bien stipulé que nul ne peut, enfin une fois que la Présidente a annoncé le début du vote, nul ne peut l'interrompre, sauf si un État membre du comité a une motion d'ordre concernant son déroulement.
Yes, representative of Lebanon.
Oui, Madame la Présidente, nous ne voulons pas créer de problème, mais les consultations que nous avons faites là montrent que la majorité des membres du comité ont compris que la demande de la Tanzanie, appuyée par la Croatie, concernait un vote sur votre proposition d'adopter la décision par consensus. Aucun des 2 États n'a dit nous voulons, nous n'avons pas compris, nous n'avons pas entendu que la proposition était de voter sur le 40 comme 7-13, mais ce que nous avions compris, c'est que le vote était sur votre proposition. Voilà. Et il faut revenir à l'article 28.2. Merci.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Justement, il y a 2 propositions sur la table. Votre proposition, qui a l'appui de beaucoup de États membres, il y a d'autres propositions de faire la votation. Ça, ce ne procède pas de faire une votation sur le projet de cette résolution. Dans ce cas, il y a une votation sur les 2 propositions, si est-ce qu'on va les voter ou pas. C'est un problème de procédure et je voudrais savoir quelle est l'opinion des conseillers juridiques dans ce point. Nous sommes dans un moment avant de voter la résolution. Nous sommes en train de faire la décision si est-ce qu'on va voter la proposition de faire la votation ou on va adopter la proposition par consensus. Merci.
For point of order, I give the floor to Tanzania.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to clarify our proposal because you asked whether we are going to adopt the decision on consensus, and we proposed that it should be a secret ballot. That's what we proposed.
Point of order, Croatia.
As the delegation of Croatia understands, there is no other way to understand rules of procedure concerning this matter as to vote for the resolution, be against it, or be abstained. And according to, I'm just voting what legal advisor has said a few minutes ago. Thank you very much.
Que dit le 28B? Oui, non, le 28B. Je veux où le 28B? Oui, non, oui, non.
May I ask the representative of Tanzania to make it again clear what was their proposal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. When we started this item, you asked members of the committee whether we are going to adopt this by consensus. And then I proposed that we should go to a secret vote. It means that the draft decision has to go the way the legal advisor has just explained, that it's the draft decision that is going to the vote, to the secret ballot.
So let me turn to the legal advisor to make the clarification on the situation.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Après les explications, du moins après les explications qui ont été fournies par les distingués délégués membres de la Croatie et de Tanzanie, il est donc clair que, comme il avait été prévu au départ, et c'était bien la compréhension de la présidence, qu'il fallait donc voter sur l'ADR, et tel que je vous l'annonçais tout à l'heure, dans le bulletin qui était affiché sur les écrans, c'est-à-dire un vote qui porte « Êtes-vous en faveur ou non de l'ADR qui était présenté ?» Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. we have to proceed with the voting. So I have to announce the tellers. Ms. Katerina Pietrosia from Poland and Mr. Sadoga Vincent from Burkina Faso. Cuba, is it a point of order? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I think that we need to be very responsible of what we are doing now. And the situation is very clear. We want to be sure, as our colleague from Lebanon said previously, that the decision we're going to take now, as requested by Tanzania and supported by Croatia, is to decide on whether we are going to adopt by consensus or not the resolution that has been introduced. And this is what has been very clear said by the representative of Lebanon and by the rules. So let's please go ahead with the procedure issue before we get into any other business. Thank you very much.
Distinguished member of Cuba, that was my sincere hope to have as chairperson of this committee, to have a consensus decision on this item. But the rules of procedure is very clear, and a member of the committee, namely Tanzania, asked for a secret ballot vote for the draft decision in front of us, and which was seconded by Croatia. And the rules of procedure is quite open for the voting of the draft decisions. So, within the framework of Article 41, isn't it, about voting, we have to start the secret ballot voting on this draft decision, and the question is on the screen. Either you go with the draft decision 7-8-13, saying yes, or no, or abstention. May I invite the two tellers to the floor? Madam Ambassador, we have already started the voting procedure. Okay, you have the floor, Madam.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, and sorry to talk again, because I think that the legal advisor don't clearly respond the request made by the colleague of Lebanon and supported by our delegation, requesting specifically which was going to be the issue voted on. Because we insist this is a procedure one, and as you mentioned, we also support to have by consensus this decision, as you were suggesting at the beginning of the session. So the point was, as certainly was expressed, that there was a request to go through a vote on this decision, but there was another part of the decision that were requesting for having this decision by consensus. So this is what we're going to vote. This is the way we should proceed. We are going to vote on whether we adopt by consensus or not the decision. This was very clear, and we would like to be very clear on the decision we are going to take. This definitely will help a lot to the decision of this committee. Not only on this issue, but we really need to go into the context in which things were expressed, and of course, by procedure. Thank you.
Madam Ambassador, we have asked Tanzania what was their proposal twice, and it was clear that a member country asked for secret ballot voting on this draft decision, and this was seconded by another member country. So according to the rules of procedure, then the committee should go for a secret ballot voting, as it was asked and seconded by 2 member countries. That was clarified by the legal advisor. Please, please. Madam Ambassador, we have already started the procedure for the voting. Please, just 1 minute, okay? We will listen you for the last time before the voting starts.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I'm sorry to insist on this, but this is a very important issue, as you quietly noticed. I think that we should have a 5-minute suspension in order to clarify this, that unfortunately was not clear enough in the response of the legal advisor. I really believe that it will help a lot if we have a 5-minute suspension. Thank you very much.
Madam Ambassador, the question is on the screen. Watch the draft decision that we'll vote for. And we have already started the voting procedure here. I would like to give the floor to our legal advisor once more to explain, to make further clarification on the voting.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais donc vous rappeler rapidement les règles concernant la conduite des votes au scrutin secret tels que vous l'avez demandé. Nous vous rappelons que ces règles sont régies par l'article 42 du règlement intérieur de votre comité. Vous devez dans un premier temps désigner 2 scrutateurs, Madame la Présidente, parmi les délégations membres du comité pour dépouiller les bulletins de vote. Les bulletins de vote vous seront distribués ou vous ont été déjà distribués. Je ne sais pas, il faudrait voir ça avec le secrétariat. Lorsque, toujours selon les mêmes dispositions de cet article 42 du règlement intérieur, et bien lorsque le décompte des voix est achevé et que les scrutateurs ont rendu compte au président, c'est le président qui proclame les résultats du scrutin en veillant que ceci soit enregistré de la façon suivante, c'est-à-dire du nombre des membres du comité sont déduits le nombre des membres du comité absents s'il y en a, le nombre de bulletins blancs s'il y en a, le nombre de bulletins nuls s'il y en a. Voilà, ce sont les dispositions du règlement intérieur concernant le vote à scrutin secret. Je vous remercie Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. And we start the voting.
Oui, oui, s'il vous plaît.
If it is only a point of order on procedural matters, Tunisia, Madam, you have the floor. If it's a point of order on the procedural matters.
Merci, Madame la...
I don't want to start a debate again.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je crois que la question a été rapidement posée et la délégation tunisienne a l'impression d'être devant le fait accompli. Donc, les questions procédurales, comme vient de l'expliquer la délégation cubaine, elles sont très importantes. Donc, la question il fallait poser la question autrement. Selon les débats qui ont commencé ce matin, êtes-vous en faveur du consensus concernant ce projet ou non? C'était ça, c'était clair et c'était net. Merci de votre compréhension. Sinon, comme vient de le demander Cuba, on suspend la séance. Mais qu'on évite, cherche tous le consensus et qu'on évite, s'il vous plaît, le fait accompli. Merci.
Start the voting. Excellencies, dear colleagues, so we will start the voting procedure, and you see the question raised on the screen. So I would like to invite the tellers to the floor and start secret ballot voting on draft decision 40Com 7A.13. I give the floor to Director Rösler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The envelopes and the ballot papers have been distributed, and I will read out the countries in English alphabetical order. Angola, please. Please come to cast your vote. You can use the stairs here, please. Angola has voted. Azerbaijan, please. Azerbaijan has voted. Burkina Faso, please. Burkina Faso a voté. Croatia, please. Croatia voted. Cuba, por favor. Cuba voted. Finland, please. Finland voted. Indonesia, please. Indonesia voted. Jamaica, absent. Kazakhstan, please. Kazakhstan voted. Kuwait, please. Kuwait voted. Lebanon, le Liban, s'il vous plaît. Le Liban a voté. Pérou, please. Peru voted. Philippines, please. Philippines voted. Poland, please. Poland voted. Portugal, please. Portugal voted. Republic of Korea, please. Republic of Korea voted. Tunisie, s'il vous plaît. La Tunisie a voté. Turkey, please. Turkey voted. United Republic of Tanzania, please. United Republic of Tanzania voted. Vietnam, please. Vietnam voted. Zimbabwe, please. Zimbabwe voted. Thank you very much.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, I have just received the result of the secret ballot vote on draft decision 40com 7A.13. Number of absent committee member is 1. Number of blank ballots, 8. Number of valid votes, 12. Majority required is 8, and we have 10 in favor of this draft decision, 2 against, and 8 abstention. So the result is the draft decision 40com 7A.13 is adopted by majority. As chairperson of the 40th Committee of the World Heritage Committee, I was looking forward sincerely to have a consensus on this draft resolution. I very much regret that our committee has missed the opportunity to adopt the decision by consensus this time. Hopefully for the future draft decisions, this committee will come to a consensus on this item. But I was... Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, we have a very tight schedule for this morning session, and we have to complete our job before noon today. I will give the floor to the member countries for very short interventions, if I may request, and I have to announce that I would like to give the floor to the observers only that are party to the issue. Party is concerned. So the ambassador of Lebanon is asking for the floor. I give you the floor.
Just seconds, Madam Chair, to thank you for your dedication towards consensus, and of course, thank you for your patience. It shouldn't have taken that much time. Thank you very much.
I thank you. Representative of Kazakhstan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we express our gratitude to you and members of the World Heritage Committee for the efforts to find a mutually acceptable solution for the sake of reaching consensus on the proposed draft decision of the committee, Old Town of Jerusalem and its walls. But with regret, we want to note that text which was nearly agreed by the concerned states again is adopted by means of voting. This is a clear indication that the issue of protection of cultural heritage within our organization became hostage to political disputes. Our main task in the framework of committee is the preservation of the cultural heritage of all humanity for generations to come, regardless of the political situation in this or that part of the world, and sometimes in spite of it. Kazakhstan, as an initiator of the International Decade for the Rapprochement of Cultures, firmly consider unacceptable to involve UNESCO into political games. Otherwise, we can plunge into the organization of endless strife and lose its main purpose. We urge all parties, what may have been sharp conditions, to show a constructive approach and to reach mutual acceptable solution. We appreciate and support the efforts made by the World Heritage Center of relevant UNESCO and on protecting this site and organizing with this purpose relevant expert meetings, and we urge the relevant parties to follow the spirit of the Convention concerning the protection of cultural and natural heritage. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Representative of Kuwait, you have...
Merci Madame la Présidente. La délégation de Koweït tient à vous remercier et également à remercier les pays membres qui ont voté pour la résolution. Et néanmoins, Madame la Présidente, nous voulons bien exprimer nos réservations de procédures juridiques appliquées qui a abouti à perdre de temps. Et également, nous voulons bien exprimer notre réservation concernant la politisation de ces procédures qui devrait être typiquement normal concernant des sujets typiquement culturels. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. Representative of Cuba.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, and we want to thank you also for your leadership on this particular issue and for your initial proposal by trying to adopt this resolution by consensus, in which Cuba, of course, supported it. We would like also to express our sentiment that we will need to pay, we will, I think so. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I stress that we will, I think I will start again all over, just a very brief statement, just to be sure that it's being correctly heard. We were saying that we really appreciate your leadership on this, and this particular proposal, mainly the intention to have, as usually we have been adopting this resolution by consensus. We fully share the comments made by other colleagues in the sense that we need to be very responsible of the important work that this committee and the whole organization has on the protection and conservation of world heritage. And we need to take into account that whatever decision we take here will need to be on that precise principle taken. So we didn't like the way it was on procedural issue, but for the sake precisely of this, we just go along with the request of the rest of the committee, just to reaffirm the fully support of Cuba to this resolution and to the important work that this organization is doing and has to do in the future. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. Representative of Tunisia.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais saluer votre quête du consensus et votre conduite sage des travaux en dépit de cette perte du temps causés par ces questions procédurales qui n'ont pas eu le temps nécessaire et, je dirais, le cachet responsable pour les examiner. Donc, je dirais aussi que la Tunisie, pays ayant érigé les valeurs du dialogue et de tolérance comme principe immuable, ne peut que saluer cette décision de consensus. Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. Representative of Indonesia.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Indonesia is one of the countries that steadfastly committed to resolving the prolonged conflict between Palestine and Israel. We support the two-state solution living side by side in peace, based on the international law and parameters set out under the UN resolutions. We always stress the importance of the impartiality of the international community in resolving the Palestinian issue and pushing the peace process. However, we do not forget that the political issues are beyond the mandate of the committee. The mandate of the committee, along with the objective of the convention, is to give protection and to safeguard the heritage sites, not to discuss political issues. In this regard, we are of the view that the decision adopted should not be based only on the historical rights of Thais, but it has to clearly stress the factual need to conserve the old city of Jerusalem and its walls. We regret that the draft decision that has been discussed and reached consensus before has to go through a political process. However, we appreciate all the members of the committee, the World Heritage Center, and you, Madam Chair, for the effort and the support for this item. Thank you.
Now, I see no more members asking for the floor, so I give the floor to the representative of Israel.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, you have just adopted yet another absurd resolution against the State of Israel, against the Jewish people, against historical truth, and one which stands in complete and utter contradiction to all values which this disintegrating organization is supposed to stand for. All this at a time when forces of radical Islam are destroying the history and legacy of many nations, demolishing mosques and churches, and not even sparing archaeological sites. All this at a time when the State of Israel is the only nation in the region which upholds these values, protects these places, while allowing freedom of worship equally to all religions. If it were not so sad, we would find it funny that an international organization established for the purpose of documentation and preservation of history and heritage is extorted into being used as a tool to rewrite the annals of history. The battle for Jerusalem did not start with the last vote, nor would it end with today's. Israel is sovereign in Jerusalem and shall continue to exercise its sovereignty there, while Palestinians and other Arab nations continue to toy with imaginary and absurd resolutions, which put to shame those who place them on the agenda, as well as those who raise their hands in favor. Jerusalem's futures will be determined by the one and only historical truth, one which we will stand by with deep determination, willing to pay any price. The fate of this resolution shall be no different than that of UN Resolution 3379, adopted in 1975, which equated Zionism with racism. That absurd resolution was cancelled 16 years later, but the moral stain still remains on all those who adopted. It might take years in our case as well, until the Jerusalem resolutions are eradicated from the annals of this organization. In 1975, it was Israel's ambassador to the UN, the late Chaim Herzog, who tore the paper of the resolution to shreds on stage in front of the entire world. I have no intention of doing it in front of you today, not because of your dignity, nor because of the dignity of this organization, but simply because this resolution paper is not even worth the energy needed for tearing it to shreds. It will be much simpler and a lot more appropriate to place it in its rightful place, the garbage place of history. And this is the garbage, Madam Chairman, and this is the resolution, and this is the place for it. On the one end, it will become one with similar resolutions adopted with regards to the Jewish people. On the other end, it might get a bit crowded between uncountable UN Human Rights Council resolution, the UN in New York resolutions, UNESCO resolutions, and other diabolical ideologies for the destruction of Israel, devised by past empires and dictators not worthy of us mentioning them, all of which have this in common: they all disappeared off the stage of history, existing no more, while the people of Israel is alive and well, and the blue and white flag with the Star of David, Magen David, is waving above Jerusalem, our eternal and united capital. Like any Jewish groom in the past 2,000 years, on my wedding day, just before giving myself to my beloved wife, I swore before one and all, if I forgot you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its skill. אם אשכחך ירושלים, תשכח ימיני. As long as Am Israel chai, Jerusalem and its history will never be forgotten. Thank you.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of Jordania. Jordan, you have the floor.
شكرا سيدة الرئيسة. أبدأ بتقديم الشكر لك سيدة الرئيسة على جهودك لنشر روح التوافق في أروقة هذه المنظمة العريقة. Then I'll translate from...
I have to remind that there is no interpretation
I'm
in
sorry,
Arabic.
I'll speak in English. Let me start, Madam Chairperson, by thanking you so much for trying to spread the spirit of consensus inside the organization, our organization. I would like to express also my sincere thanks to all members of this committee who voted in favor of the consensus and in favor of adopting the draft resolution as well. All of you know that Jordan is the voice of moderation and balance and is playing a major role in the stability of the Middle East. Therefore, we, as a balancing factor, are always seeking consensus, and this is what we have worked for in the past at least 4 months to reach this consensual draft decision, but unfortunately it didn't work, although we have exerted so many efforts to reach this noble goal. I would also like to state that this resolution is based on a legal argument. It speaks about the international law and how to apply the international law. It speaks about the illegality of the Israeli occupation to East Jerusalem, where all we agree upon. It speaks about preserving and protecting the status quo, which is the mandate of this organization, keeping the status quo and preserving the status quo, which is a major role that this organization has to promote, is to keep the city as it was before the Israeli occupation on the 5th of June, 1967. We are playing this role as well because His Majesty, the King of Jordan, is the custodian of all the holy places in Jerusalem, and therefore we feel ourselves obliged to continue playing this compromising, balancing, and just role with the support of all members of this committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I give the floor to the representative of Palestine.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais commencer par remercier notre directrice générale pour l'appui très clair qu'elle a donné à l'option d'une résolution de consensus. Je voudrais également remercier la présidence et pour son appui à la notion et au principe du consensus, ainsi que pour tous les efforts qu'elle a déployés pour pouvoir mener à bien cette séance qui fut un peu agitée, c'est vrai. Je voudrais également, parce qu'on les a oubliés, saluer mes confrères européens, car le texte sur lequel certains ont voté oui ou non est une proposition consensuelle qui nous a été présentée par nos collègues européens à Istanbul. Et donc je voudrais saluer l'Europe pour son esprit constructif et ouvert, et je crois que nos collègues européens ont cette fois fait une contribution très importante au principe du consensus et de la résolution des problèmes aigus, difficiles, c'est vrai, mais pour leur résolution par les échanges. Je voudrais également vous dire que je serais de très mauvaise foi si je vous annonçais que j'étais extrêmement surpris par la réaction des représentants israéliens. Par contre, ce que je voudrais souligner, c'est notre profonde perplexité, car, comme vous le savez, il n'y a pas très longtemps, une tempête s'est levée du fait qu'on avait eu recours à un vote pour une résolution sur cette même ville de Jérusalem. Et aujourd'hui que nous sommes présentés avec un esprit d'ouverture pour un accord consensuel, et voilà que le consensus également soulève la même tempête d'indignation. Je sais que nous ne sommes pas naïfs, je sais quelle est la raison de ces colères, à nos yeux, tout à fait injustifiées et inacceptables. La raison, c'est qu'une tentative permanente de la partie israélienne de politiser la religion. Or, comme l'a expliqué mon confrère et son Excellence le représentant de la Jordanie, il ne s'agit pas ici de religion, il s'agit de la question du droit, des violations du droit, bien entendu, eu égard au champ de compétences de l'UNESCO. Ce que je voudrais dire pour finir, c'est que tout cela est maintenant derrière nous. Les délégations arabes et nos deux délégations jordaniennes et palestiniennes ont affirmé par l'acceptation de cette formule qui nous a été proposée par les délégués européens, ont affirmé une question de principe, à savoir que l'idée du consensus est fondamentale et nous annonçons une sorte de signe pour l'avenir, à savoir notre porte est ouverte, nous travaillerons au consensus et que l'on sache désormais quelle est la partie qui politise, et encore cette politisation extrêmement dangereuse de la religion, et quelle est la partie qui entend rester dans le cadre strict des champs de compétences de l'UNESCO. Madame la Présidente, merci.
Thank you. The last observer on my list is United States of America. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As an observer to the World Heritage Committee, the United States takes the floor to state that this item should have been defeated. These politicized and one-sided resolutions are damaging the credibility of UNESCO and greatly hinder the important work this body is undertaking to safeguard and preserve our diverse world heritage. These resolutions are continuously inflammatory and one-sided to the point of ignoring the historic connections of all three religions. The holy sites of Jerusalem are important to the peoples of all three monotheistic faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, and this must be fully reflected through resolutions presented at UNESCO. Member states of UNESCO must focus on core priorities, such as preserving cultural and natural heritage, and in doing so, respect the interests and histories of all people. We only wish that all of our fellow members of this organization would reach the same conclusion we have, that these politicized decisions do not further the mandate and standing of UNESCO. UNESCO is engaged in activities around the world that are critical to the preservation of our world heritage, and yet so many in the international community are unaware of these efforts, which are overshadowed by reports of biased politicization in the organization. These resolutions undermine support for the very legitimacy of this organization. Going forward, we once again urge all members of this organization to fully embrace an approach in which we can all work together in a manner that embodies the values and core competencies of UNESCO. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no more requests for the floor, so we can move to the next agenda item, which is item 7. Dear colleagues, during the meeting, held in Istanbul in July, we had decided to examine the General Decision 40-7 on the state of conservation of World Heritage properties after completion of examination of items 7A and 7B to take into account the debates on these items. Dear colleagues, may I continue with the presentation of item 7? As you will remember that following the presentation of this item by the director of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies in Istanbul, a number of amendments have been received for draft decision 40-7. The Secretariat provided you with a printed copy of draft decision 40-7, including the amendments submitted. But before we proceed with the examination of the draft decision, I would like to give the floor to Madame Rösler, Director of the World Heritage Center, to give those of you who were not in Istanbul a brief overview of the document. You have the floor, Madame.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We discussed this in Istanbul, but document 7 provides a snapshot of all the factors impacting on outstanding universal value of properties which were examined by the committee in July. Comprehensive information is provided on specific conservation issues such as emergency situations in conflict areas, including updates on the situation in Afghanistan, Mali, Nigeria, Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and Libya. The question of reconstruction following conflicts or natural disasters was also addressed, and besides the challenges due to management coordination and sometimes complex decision-making processes at site level, Document 7 also addresses the threats due to climate change, dams and extractive industries, and provides information on the need for state parties to undertake environmental and heritage impact assessments for any development projects, such as the construction of ground transportation infrastructure. Finally, Document 7 proposes explanatory notes on the desired state of conservation for the removal of properties from the list of World Heritage in danger and on how reactive monitoring missions should be organized with the state parties concerned. I think, Madam Chair, this draft resolution 40-7 has been distributed with the amendments which you proposed already in Istanbul on 14th of July. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will now ask the rapporteur whether she has received any further amendments to this draft decision and to take us through the draft decision proposed for adoption. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, indeed, as Director Rösler has pointed out, we have had extensive discussion on this draft decision, and circulated in front of you in the blue form is the version that we adjourned the debate as it stood in Istanbul. However, during the past 3 days, we have received other amendments for this text that has been circulated to you. So I will just go through the whole draft decision, pointing out which parts have been changed. If we just scroll through, I'll just like to remind you of the changes that were made in Istanbul in paragraph 4, with the addition from the proposal from Jamaica, and also in paragraph 5. If we scroll down to paragraph 10, we also have another addition into the existing text proposed by Jamaica. And then here we have a new paragraph that has been submitted from the delegation of the Philippines. It's 12 bis. May I read it? Welcomes the offer of the government of Poland to host an international conference on reconstruction of World Heritage properties to provide guidelines to the World Heritage Committee. And then we scroll down to paragraph 26. Paragraph 26, the parts that you see in yellow were actually the amendments that we had agreed to in Istanbul, but however, the parts that are now marked in blue, highlighted in blue, are the new amendments that we have. And I would just like to read out the entire paragraph just for the sake of clarification. Takes note of its discussions under agenda items 7A and 7B, and requests the World Heritage Center, in consultation with the advisory bodies and states parties, to promote better understandings of the implications and benefits of properties being inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger, and to develop appropriate information material in this regard, with a view to overcome the negative perceptions of the list of World Heritage in danger, including within the World Heritage Committee. The information material should highlight the importance of the protection of the OUV. This is the new amendment that I was referring to that has been received in the past 2-3 days. And then we scroll down to the last part. This has already been incorporated into your the draft that has been circulated, which is an insertion that was proposed by the delegation of Poland. Thank you. These are all the amendments.
Thank you very much. May I ask to the members of the committee if they have any objection to this draft resolution as amended? Either we will adopt it as a whole, or we will go paragraph by paragraph. Poland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do not have any objections, just a small amendment to amendments. Speaking about the 27, we propose to add a subtitle because the whole decision is organized under subtitles, which should read reactive monitoring, because this one doesn't refer to in danger list. And the other one is about our proposal to organize the conference on reconstruction, not reconstruction of World Heritage properties. So we would like to cross out World Heritage properties in the amendment proposed by Philippines. Thank you.
Representative of Philippines, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We just want to inquire on the amendment of Finland, if we can go to that para. 26. Just want to be enlightened on what is meant by, can you please go a little bit there? The last phrase, including within the World Heritage Committee. We are just of the view that it might look and sound redundant because everybody in the World Heritage Committee should know about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Finland, would you like to take the floor?
Thank you, Chair. In Istanbul, when we discussed about the possible in-danger listing of certain properties, it was not only the state party where the property was located, but also committee members who liked that the in-danger listing is a punishment and a way to underestimate the properties, the progress that has been taken. This is why we think that it would be wise to have wording including within the World Heritage Committee. Thank you.
Representative of Cuba, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais souligner quelque chose parce que c'est un projet de décision très important, un sujet très important de l'UNESCO. Il est en train de réfléchir sur une stratégie qu'il a adoptée par la conférence générale et il n'y a pas aucune référence de ce sujet à ces résolutions, ni le travail du comité dans ce sens. Il n'y a pas aucun point dans l'agenda de travail de ce comité sur ça. Et le Conseil exécutif, il vient de travailler justement sur ce thème et c'est une préoccupation que le groupe a exprimée, que c'est l'importance que les organes des conventions, particulièrement cette convention, travaillent d'une façon harmonisée avec cette stratégie. Il n'y a pas aucune référence dans ces documents ni dans ces projets de résolution sur ce sujet. C'est une préoccupation de notre part et ça... Justement, ce que nous voudrions dire, qu'il n'y a pas aucune connexion dans ces points dans l'intérieur des organes et des conventions. Merci.
Thank you. Dr. Rosa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are just looking, but I think it's in the document. If you want to have a specific amendment to the draft decision to recall the strategy and the action plan, which now has been adopted at the Executive Board. You remember that the Executive Board is now between the Istanbul session and this continued session, so there has been also an evolution. Yeah, the document itself has been prepared in April.
Thank you, Madame Röster, for the clarification. Representative of Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to echo what has been said by the delegation of Philippines, I think the proposal by Finland with regard to including within the World Heritage Committee is redundant here. We also believe that this should be deleted. Thank you.
I don't see... Finland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We can't be okay with that. It can be deleted.
Thank you very much. So, Finland, you have the floor.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, to ask for the floor again, but could we scroll down to para 27? I would ask if Poland could elaborate a little bit on what this last paragraph is aiming at, since it seems to add to the burden of workload to the World Heritage Center, and I'm not fully clear of what we want with this. It seems a bit unclear to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of Poland, you have the...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our experience with reactive monitoring is that it needs a little bit more guidance, also, and we need to improve operational guidelines also, so, but because we don't have enough, and we are getting different reports, we don't know fully their status, so that's why we are asking the center and advisory bodies to look at the whole system to give us information whether we and what we can improve to make the very crucial part of the World Heritage System working better. So that's the aim. We know that it gives it gives more burden, and hope that there will be a donor helping with money to organize this evaluation process. But this is it. We need to do it. It's a must. The state of conservation of World Heritage properties is crucial.
Thank you. Representative of Finland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then I would suggest that we would add to this paragraph the words if funds are available.
I see that the representative of Poland is nodding, so we can go with this addition. May I ask the members of the committee? Representative of Lebanon, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente, désolé d'intervenir justement à propos de ce paragraphe. On invite le Centre du patrimoine mondial en coopération avec les organisations consultatives d'évaluer l'efficacité du suivi réactif, y compris les procédures et études de cas, etc. etc. Pensez-vous réellement qu'en 6 mois ce soit possible? Parce qu'on demande ici que ça soit présenté à la 41e session en 2017. Je ne pense pas réellement, nous ne pensons pas qu'en 6 mois ce soit possible. Il faudrait peut-être pousser ceci à la 42e session en 2018 pour donner un peu plus de temps, parce qu'en 6 mois, c'est pratiquement une tâche irréalisable.
Yeah. I think Poland is also agree with this amendment to ask for Zimbabwe also. So, may I ask the members of the committee if they do not have any objection to this draft decision as amended, so we can go along with the adoption of this draft decision as amended? I see no objection, so that draft decision. Excuse me, Ambassador of Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With your permission, I would like to go back to the paragraph 4. There are some stylistic amendments that we would like to introduce. Urge the state parties in plural, and also the name of the convention, the Convention for the Protection of Cultural Property, not properties, in singular. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. So may I declare that draft decision 40.7 adopted as amended. I see no objection. Next agenda item is 8C. Update of the World Heritage List and the list of World Heritage in danger. I would like to invite Mr. Alessandro Balsamo from the World Heritage Center to give us the updated list of World Heritage in danger, taking into account the decisions taken during the examination of the state of conservation reports, as well as the nominations of properties on the World Heritage List. The update of the list will be presented orally by Mr. Balsamo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The committee, at its 40th session, inscribed 21 new properties on the World Heritage List, 6 natural, 12 cultural, and 3 mixed. And among the newly inscribed properties, there are 3 cultural landscapes, and with this addition, we have now 98 properties officially recognized as such on the World Heritage List, which represents the 9% of the list. The new overall figures on the World Heritage List are now 1,052 properties, of which 814 are cultural, 203 are natural, and 35 are mixed. Breakdown by region of properties inscribed at the 40th session is the following: Africa, 1 property, Arab region, 2 properties, Asia Pacific, 8 properties, Europe and North America, 7 properties, and Latin America and the Caribbean, 3 properties. The state parties of Antigua and Barbuda and the Federation States of Micronesia had their first property inscribed on the World Heritage List. And following the debates on item 8B, 4 nominations were referred and 1 deferred. At this session, in 13 cases, the committee did not follow the advisory body's recommendation, which was presented in the draft decision. So we had 2 referrals becoming inscriptions, 1 deferral becoming referral, 7 deferral becoming inscriptions, 1 non-inscription become referral, 1 non-inscription became deferral, and 1 inscription became referral. The committee allocated approximately 18 hours of discussion to examine 26 nominations, and this results roughly in an average of 40 minutes for discussion for each nomination. As a result of the decision relating to the status of conservation of properties inscribed on the list, and the decision on nomination of properties to the World Heritage List, at this session the committee decided to inscribe 8 properties on the list of World Heritage in danger. These are Libya, archaeological site of Cyrene, archaeological site of Leptis Magna, archaeological site of Sabrata, rock art site of Tadar Akahus, Old Town of Gadames, then Mali, Old Town of Djenné, Micronesia, Nan Madol Ceremonial Center of Eastern Micronesia, and Uzbekistan Historic Center of Sharaspitsa. At the same time, 1 property was removed from the list of World Heritage in danger, as Georgia Historical Monuments of Mushketa. And according to these decisions, there are now 55 properties inscribed on the list of World Heritage in danger. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balsamo. Now I give the floor to the Director of the World Heritage Center, Madame Rösler. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I would like to make a brief comment also following the discussion you just had in terms of workload and governance yesterday. While I understand the wish of the committee to inscribe a site on the World Heritage List in order to protect it, I would like to also recall some of the consequences of inscriptions which have been done a little bit in haste and without making the best use of the moment, which is the time of the inscription, to request authorities to do the necessary things to get it right for a nomination, which means in some cases you don't have an adopted statement of outstanding universal value, which is the basis for effective management, no finalized or adopted management plan, and in some cases even not basic inventories. Now, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies are always ready to help, but the situation has changed substantively over the years with reduced staff and reduced budgets, which you have heard in the budget group. Now, I would like to give you the figures of the consequences of the decisions. In Istanbul, the World Heritage Committee examined 156 state of conservation reports, including 48 sites on the danger list. Out of the 108 7B reports, 27 were requested from previous sessions of the committee in Bonn, and 17 were requested from nomination decisions adopted at the 38th or 37th session, which means at the time of the inscriptions, the things were not yet right, you requested reports and reports. In Krakow, at our meeting in July 2017, as the situation stands today, the committee will examine 144 state of conservation reports, including 55 sites on the danger list, as you have just heard. Out of the 89 7B reports so far, 27 are requested from previous sessions of the committee in Istanbul, so this July, and 9 are requested from nomination decisions adopted at the 38th and 39th session of the committee. That means the past 2 sessions. And I would like to let you know that for the 42nd session in 2018, 83 7B reports are already in the pipeline, including 15 requested from previous nomination decisions adopted by you last year or this year in Istanbul. We all strongly believe in this really important instrument, but we are entering a really critical situation, and I would like to call on you to assist countries in need of effective management plans, visitor use plans, or operative policies and legal positions to properly protect their World Heritage sites. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Rösler. I now invite the state parties to adopt draft decisions 40-com 8C1, 40-com 8C2, and 40-com 8C3. Are there any comments or questions on this issue from the members of the committee? I see no request for the floor. Then I declare decisions 40-com 8C.1, C2 and C3 adopted, and item 8C closed. We now move to the revised draft decision 11 presented regarding the revision of the operational guidelines. As you know, the working group met several times and is proposing a draft decision which has been distributed to you and proposed for adoption. If you allow me, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tabet, Chairperson. I think we have to wait for a second for Mr. Tabet.
He's coming. I see him.
He's coming. If you allow me, I would like to give the floor to
ready.
I would like to give the floor to Mr. Tabet, chairperson of the working group, to further report to the committee members on this revised decision. Please, Mr. Tabet, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mrs. Chair. I have the pleasure to present you with the conclusions and the draft decision elaborated by the working group on the operation and guidelines established by committee on Monday, 11 July, under item 11 of the agenda. Last year, the committee, at its 39th session, took note of the results of the working group on the revision of the operation guidelines and adopted a revision to the operation guidelines in its decision 39-11 in Bonn. However, while within the working group a large consensus was found concerning the revision of paragraph 61, particularly with regard to reducing the number of nominations per state party to 1 per year and overall number of nominations to 25. Although there was a consensus in the working group, after an extensive plenary debate, the committee decided that there was a need to further reflect on the question of the limitation to the number of nominations. Therefore, in its decision 39-11, the committee decided to extend the mandate of the ad hoc working group established at the 38th session in Doha, 2014, to be convened by Turkey to further discuss and make recommendations on paragraph 61, as well as on the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund. In the same decision, the committee decided to re-examine paragraph 68 on the procedures of inclusion of sites on the tentative lists, as well as Annex 2A of the operational guidelines, the format for the submission of tentative lists. Therefore, the mandate given to the working group by the committee this year was limited to these two aspects, paragraph 61 and paragraph 68 and Annex 2A. The work of the group was guided by working document WHC 1640-11 and its Annex 3 and its 3 annexes, as well as working document WHC 1640-13A, which takes into account the discussions and the outcomes of the ad hoc working group. As you will recall, in Istanbul, Ambassador Bozzani made a detailed presentation of the outcomes of the ad hoc working group. The working group met 3 times. The first meeting was held in Istanbul, and then we met twice here in Paris. In the 3 meetings, we had a very good participation, with an average of more than 50 state parties represented, including 14 to 15 committee members. During the first meeting in Paris, which took place on 15 July, we all agreed to start working on the basis of the text of paragraph 61 proposed by the ad hoc working group. During the first meeting in Istanbul, which took place on 15 July, we all agreed to start working on the basis of the text of paragraph 61 proposed by the ad hoc working group, as presented in the working document WHC 1640-13A. Both the limitations presented in this document, namely 1 property per state party per year and 35 as an overall number, have been consensually agreed. At the end of the first meeting, the group had finished examination of paragraph 61C, which is the prioritization system in case the maximum cap of nomination is surpassed. Relating to the text presented in document 13A, the only new proposal concerned the inclusion of the prioritization list of a provision in the prioritization list of a provision with regard to 3 submitted referred nominations for which the group had asked the Secretariat to propose suitable language. In the second meeting held on Monday here in Paris at UNESCO headquarters, we continued our work on paragraph 61. The working group dealt very quickly and smoothly with the only outstanding issue, which was linked to the prioritization mechanism. The debate was short, focused, and we were then in a position to recommend by consensus the revision of the whole paragraph 61. In the same meeting, we were also able to start the discussion on the revision of paragraph 68, presenting the proposal included in document 40-11. But the majority of speakers appeared reluctant to the idea of giving a decisional role either to the chairperson, the bureau, or the committee in case of disputes. In the third and last day, which means yesterday, I opened the discussion related to paragraph 68 by regrouping different possibilities in three families of options with potential different variants. One, the first option was the original proposed of the Secretariat presented in document 40-11, which gives strong power of decision in the hand of the chairperson and ultimately of the committee. The second proposal, the second option, was based on a proposal I made as a chair, and based on the idea that the committee does not take note of the tentative lists, and rather, and that the tentative lists are not published on the World Heritage Center website, but rather on state parties' website. The idea behind this proposal was that a tentative list, as is clearly written in the convention, is of state parties' sovereignty, and the committee shouldn't take note of this. It can be sent to the committee only as an INF document. The third option that was proposed was publishing the tentative list along with the concerns raised by another party. I mean, if you have a case where a state party presents a site or a property on a tentative list, and there is a concern raised by another state party, that both the proposal of the tentative list presented by the state party and the concerns of other state party are published on the website. This was the third proposal. This last option was abandoned from the beginning, as everyone agreed that in this case, the center's website would become an unmanageable platform of objections. As the debate showed the preceding day, the large majority of the working group participants expressed the view that it is not up to the chair or to the committee to rule on international disputes. And this proposal was abandoned in favor of the second proposal. So, after a long discussion, we had the idea that maybe the second proposal was the best. However, an extensive and passionate debate took place on this second option. And while some participants were in favor of it, others raised the issue of the lack of transparency. And as a consensus was not reached, the idea of giving more time for discussion prevailed. So the proposal that we are giving you here as a working group is a consensus on paragraph 61, which should be decided by the committee, since we have been discussing this since 2 years, and probably there is not probably, it's clear that there is a large consensus on this paragraph 61. And then paragraph 68, a proposal to not to decide now and to extend to introduce this paragraph 68 in the modification of paragraph 68 in the future ad hoc committee meetings. Now, a little bit small comments. The Operation Guidelines Group had no mandate for other issues than paragraph 61 and 68. However, there was comments on item 8A in order to address critical issues that might appear or that have appeared during this session of the committee. So I feel my responsibility to provide you with some of the options that were discussed in the working group without decision taken on these options. The first option is to remove paragraph 4 of decision 40-8A. Paragraph 4 in this decision says that the committee takes note of the tentative list. So one proposal was to remove this taking note in order to address a critical issue that is raised today. The second option was to request the Secretariat to reissue the document as an INF 8A document without any decision. So the issue of the tentative list would become an INF document, not a decision document. And the third proposal was to postpone consideration of the whole item 8A from this, in this session. There were also other proposals to suspend the publishing of the tentative list for 1 year or until next session of the World Heritage Committee in order to reach a sort of consensus. Okay, while I underlined that item 8A was not a mandate of the working group, these proposals may facilitate some of the debates which you may have later today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabet, for your very clear presentation. Allow me also on behalf of the committee to congratulate you for your excellent work as chairperson of the group. Dear colleagues, I would like to know if there are comments on the revised draft decision proposed by the working group regarding item 11. As far as I understand, our rapporteur did not receive any further amendment on this draft decision. So, if there is no objection for this draft decision as revised, do you have any objection? You have the floor, Finland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make a general statement. Finland thanks the Operational Guidelines Working Group and Mr. Tabet for his chairmanship. As this item is very much linked to the item 13A, we would like to extend our thanks to the members of the ad hoc working group, the delegation of Turkey for the chairmanship, as well as the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies for their participation in the meetings. The paragraph 61 of the operational guidelines was in the mandate of the ad hoc working group, which reached a consensus proposal on this issue. The group has worked extensively, and the work of the ad hoc group has been discussed in many different settings. The discussions have been broad and comprehensive. Finland supports the consensus proposal of the group. This question is linked to the question of the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, which was also addressed in the mandate of the ad hoc working group. As we know, currently, with the increasing number of the sites, ever more resources are needed and workload added in the situation which is already almost unbearable. Moreover, today, when the world cultural and natural heritage has come under unprecedented threat, the emphasis should be put on conservation and protection as well as on the effective management of the World Heritage List. This is the spirit of the whole convention. The adoption of the proposal is also a step towards more balanced list. The situation as it stands today increases the gap between most and less represented state parties and does not allow improvements in the geographical distribution of new nominations. As shown in the tables of the Annex 3 of the document, we are still very far from the objectives of the global strategy for representative and balanced list. Regarding the paragraph 68, Finland thinks that this question needs further deliberation. We support that this issue could be discussed in the ad hoc working group. Also, Finland encouraged using the upstream process to the dialogue with the Secretariat well before the inscription aside on the tentative list. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative of Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'ai une incompréhension par rapport à la fin du paragraphe. Cette décision sera mise en œuvre à titre expérimental pendant 4 ans et prendra effet le 2 février 2018. Là, je comprends, c'est-à-dire la mise en œuvre effective aura lieu en 2022. Là, je sollicite plus d'explications. Par contre, pour le début du paragraphe, j'ai c'est-à-dire une proposition à faire quand par rapport à la liste des priorités. Quand on avance en premier lieu les États parties n'ayant pas de biens inscrits sur la liste. Et par la suite, on vient aux États parties ayant jusqu'à 3 biens inscrits sur la liste. Moi, j'aurais souhaité, pour plus d'informations, qu'on ait un pourcentage des États parties qui n'ont pas de biens du tout sur la liste et un pourcentage des États parties qui ont moins que 3 biens sur la liste, pour qu'on connaisse un peu l'évolution qui va se présenter aux uns et aux autres parmi les États parties. Merci beaucoup.
Mr. Tabet, you have the floor.
Yes. Concernant les pourcentages, nous avons 27 pays qui ont 27% des États membres. Non, 27 pays, donc 27 États membres qui ont 0 bien. Et si on additionne le nombre d'États parties qui ont jusqu'à 3 biens, ça fait 58% des membres des États parties inscrits qui sont membres de la Convention. C'est-à-dire qu'on donne une priorité à 58% des États parties. Voilà. On donne d'abord priorité à ceux qui n'ont aucun bien, ça c'est normal. Et puis après, si on ajoute à cela les États parties qui ont jusqu'à 3 biens, nous arrivons à 58%. Bon. Je sais qu'il y a des propositions de certains États parties de monter, de dire pourquoi 3, pourquoi pas 4, pourquoi pas 5, pourquoi pas 10. On a fait un test sur 10, on arrive à 80%. Ça n'a plus de sens. Si on dit 10, je veux dire, on donne priorité à 80% des États parties, ce n'est plus une priorité, à mon avis. Hein. Maintenant, le comité peut décider ce qu'il veut, mais voilà.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabet. I give the floor to the representative of Portugal.
Thank you very much, Madam President. And for the sake of saving time, I'll be very, very brief, albeit I had a lovely statement to make. But I review myself on what already has been said by our colleague from Finland, so I don't have to further elaborate. We congratulate and thank our colleague, Mr. Tabet, for his efficient chairmanship of the meetings held here in Paris. And we support the compromise that has been reached, which we had indeed already supported in Bonn. Actually, we had suggested that paragraph 68 should be further discussed in the ad hoc working group as proposed. So we fully support the draft decision. Concerning the issue raised by our Tunisian colleague, I do understand her point, but I also review myself in the explanations that were given by our friend Mr. Tabet. It's a bit like for the Europeans in the room, in the Eurozone we have the 3% limit on deficits, and no one knows why it is 3% or 4% or 2%. Anyway, I think this is an adequate compromise and we can work with that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Now I give the floor to the representative of Philippines.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Very briefly, we'd just like to take the floor to express our thanks to Mr. Tabet for chairing the working group. We'd like to thank the distinguished delegation of Turkey for chairing the ad hoc working group. We only want to put on record our support for the consensus on paragraph 61, which we believe will do much in promoting a more balanced and representative World Heritage List. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to the representative of Turkey.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I will also be very brief. Let me first thank Mr. Tabet for his chairmanship of the Operational Guidelines Working Group. With regard to Paris 61, we had extensive consultations throughout the year with the ad hoc members and also with all states parties concerned, and we reached a good compromise. So we are of the belief that this should be adopted here by consensus. And with regard to Paris 68, we also shared the views expressed by other delegations that we need further reflection on this paragraph, and we support the decision to give it to the mandate of the extended ad hoc working group. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We share the same concern with our colleague Turkey with regards to 61 for further consultation. Thank you. 61, not 68. Yes. You see? Okay, so we only agree with 61. For
61 consensus.
a consensus. Right, if it's possible to postpone 61 for further consultation.
I'm sorry, we have been working 3 years on this paragraph 61. There have been a working group that have worked during years, headed by Turkey. I headed the chairmanship, the working group in Bonn, and then Turkey headed the ad hoc working group during 1 year with consultation with all state parties. And now you want to suspend again? I mean, it's not possible. We're not going anywhere. Can you explain why? What are your objections? Why?
Representative of Kuwait, you have the floor.
We are sharing some discussions with other state members, and we really appreciate your effort. The request is just to delay it until the lunch break, if it's possible, after the lunch break, if it's possible.
What are the discussions? About what? I mean, I suppose we have discussed everything. Everything has been discussed. Once and twice and 3 times, and with I don't know how many state parties. What are you doing? What do you want to discuss? Make a proposal. Make a direct proposal of modification. We'll see. I mean...
We have a very tight schedule for this morning. We cannot delay any agenda item for this afternoon. We have to finish this item now. So I would, if you do not have any further comment on it, I would like to go on with this agenda item.
Okay, Croatia first and then.
Croatia first, then Portugal, and Kuwait, you will have the floor again.
Thank you very much. Croatia would only like to congratulate Mr. Tabet on his work within the working group and express our hope that the ad hoc working group that will be working, dealing with the Article 68 will come to a solution very soon. Thank you.
If you want to give the floor again.
Thank you very much. First, Portugal. Mr. Ambassador, you have the
Thank
floor.
you. I'm sorry to come back to it, but I fully agree we're just wasting time and we should proceed to a formal decision on this matter. And Mr. Tabet has said for 3 years we've been thrashing all the issues and all the concerns, so the time for discussion is past. So if Kuwait, with all due respect, has an alteration to propose, please do it when we have it, the resolution, draft resolution on the screen, and then we'll decide on that. Thank you.
Representative of Philippines, you have the floor. You did deny. We have Poland asking for the floor. Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to join others with saying thank you to Mr. Tabet for chairing the Operational Guidelines Working Group very effectively, and also saying thank you to Turkey for chairing the ad hoc group. And we fully support the draft decision as we agreed. So we are for the adoption of the decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of Peru.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to express actually our gratitude to Mr. Tabet for all his work and the efficient results provided as a result in the group. We want to support the text as it was presented in this way, and we also we consider that we must to continue. As is included actually in the text, discussing about paragraph 68. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kazakhstan and followed by Kuwait then.
My delegation wants to thank Mr. Tabet for chairing the Operational Guidelines Working Group. I think, Mr. Tabet, you are discussing this not 3 years, more than 3 years. That's why we go with consensus with regard to paragraph 61. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of Kuwait, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a quick question. Can we please request to give the floor to one of the observer countries? Is it possible to request to have the floor open to the observer?
After the member countries, I will give the floor to the observers anyway. Representative of Zimbabwe, Madam Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I join colleagues in thanking Mr. Tabet and Turkey for the work that has been done on this particular matter. I would like to encourage colleagues to note that this is on a trial basis. So we are trying this initiative, and therefore I go along with the consensus that we adopt the changes to 61 and that 68 be referred for more discussion. But it is a trial for 4 years, and it is still open for review. It is not a closed decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Representative of Azerbaijan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to thank Mr. Tabet for his chairmanship, a very successful one. We would like to congratulate the working group for the consensus reached on the paragraph 61. We believe that the amendments to the paragraph 61 will have a significant positive impact on the management of the World Heritage List, introducing new approaches such as annual limit, and the prioritization will contribute to the management of the workload vis-à-vis the limited financial resources, and moreover, this would lead to more balanced, inclusive, and geographically widely represented World Heritage List. When it comes to the paragraph 68, as we reiterated our position in the working group yesterday, we admit that there is a problem which needs to be settled, but taking into account that there are discrepancies in the way out of settling this issue, we join the consensus to prolong the mandate of the ad hoc group to discuss furthermore, to find out the mutually accepted decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have to move fast. We have a lot of items on our agenda, and may I ask the representative of Tanzania if they are in consensus with the draft decision. Do they insist to take the floor at this moment? Tanzania?
Madam Chair, we just wanted to echo our concern that we are joining other members on the consensus on item 61.
And Ambassador, would you like to have the floor? Yes, please.
Very briefly, on the point of procedure, Madam President, may I suggest, as this is all on a trial basis, as has been explained and underlined, may I suggest that we conclude this issue, we approve the resolution, and then you give the floor to the observers.
Let's do that.
Thank you very much.
Let's move to the adoption of this draft resolution. Then I will look, and if I see that other countries asking for the floors from the members or the observers, I will give the floor. I will move to the adoption of the draft resolution. Representative of Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'avais demandé la parole avant que son Excellence l'ambassadeur de Portugal n'intervienne. Voilà, donc la Tunisie, elle est membre du comité du patrimoine mondial, si vous voulez, au nom du groupe arabe. J'ai beaucoup de respect et de considération pour le travail de longue haleine accompli par l'expert Jed Thebet. Mais je voudrais soutenir la proposition du Koweït qui peut le plus, peut le moins. Donc si on reporte ça pour le début de l'après-midi. Comme ça, on aura l'occasion de voir avec d'autres pays qui nous sollicitent. Merci beaucoup.
Une question à la représentante de la Tunisie. Si vous avez des modifications, faites-les tout de suite. Mais proposez tout de suite la modification. Pourquoi attendre?
Il y aura une proposition.
Pourquoi attendre? Faites tout de suite la proposition de modification.
Donc il y aura une proposition. Je n'ai pas l'amendement, mais il y aura. C'est pour ça que je vous dis qui peut le plus, peut le moins. On laisse pour.
I would like to give the floor to the director of the World Heritage Center, Dr.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As explained by the chairperson in the bureau this morning, and as in front of you, you have the timetable, you have still items 15, 13A, 8A, 18 before the lunch break. After the lunch break, there is no session planned, and at 5 o'clock, you come back for the adoption of the decisions. I hope this clarifies. Thank you.
Distinguished members of the committee, Ambassador of Kuwait, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Alors, quand il n'y aura pas de temps de changer, moi je propose le changement concernant le point 61, numéro I, c'est-à-dire on va changer up to 3 property, on met de 3 jusqu'à 10. C'est le changement. Oui, c'est le 3, il devient 10. Merci.
Merci. Je voudrais juste faire un petit commentaire, puisqu'on parle de statistiques. Si nous arrivons à 10 biens inscrits sur la liste, ça veut dire que 80% des États partis seront prioritaires. Bon, si le comité décide de le faire, d'accord, mais qu'est-ce que ça veut dire priorité dans ce sens-là? Bon, si vous décidez de le faire, il n'y a pas de problème. Hein, mais je pense que la priorité n'a plus de sens. Ceci dit, juste une petite remarque importante. Cette question de priorisation, est extrêmement formelle. Toutes les statistiques qui ont été faites par le centre, par les chercheurs et par moi-même, puisque je fais des statistiques, puisque je donne un cours sur le World Heritage à mes étudiants universitaires. Toutes les statistiques indiquent que durant les 15 dernières années, si on applique le principe d'une seule nomination par État parti, nous n'arrivons jamais à 35 sites. Jamais. Ce qui veut dire que le système de priorisation est juste une sorte de, comment on peut dire, au cas où. Bon. Maintenant, si le comité décide de donner une priorité à 80% des États partis, oui, nous ne sommes pas contre. Enfin, mais bon, peut-être qu'il faut pas la peine, ça vaut peut-être pas la peine de discuter d'un point qui, de toute façon, ne sera probablement jamais appliqué.
Representative of Tunisia, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Donc c'est pour appuyer la proposition qui vient d'être formulée par le Koweït. Merci.
Thank you very much. Representative of Finland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finland would like to have the 3 properties inscribed on the list at this point. As it has been explained to us, this is the only way that we can help those countries that really do not have at all sites or have a very few sites. This lost meaning if we higher the number. So we prefer 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative of Portugal.
Thank you, Madam President. Along the same line, we would like to keep the formulation as it is and 3 properties, because as it has been very precisely explained by Mr. Tabet, if you increase this number to 10, then it ceases being a priority. So it doesn't make sense any longer. And if we really want to protect, quote unquote, certain countries, we should keep the number referred to on 61 C2 as small as possible. So we are with 3 properties, and I don't think we need to go. I think the arguments on this discussion have been widely exhausted, and I don't think we're going to go into a discussion which is not very becoming to us of being 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Let's keep it as it is, and I propose that we keep it as it is in line with what Finland suggested. And I'm not ready to concede on that, and if there's too much discussion, I would ask you, Madam Chair, for a vote. Thank you.
Mr. Tabet, you have the floor.
Yes. It's not my role, but I would like to do a proposal that may lead to a consensus. I asked Tunisia and Kuwait if we raise the number to 4, would you agree?
Representative of Turkey, you have the floor. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Well, I don't think that we should be negotiating this number. So I don't want to prolong the debate, and I just want to add my voice to Portugal and Finland, having heard what Mr. Tabet explained to us, to keep the number as 3 as it is. Thank you.
Representative of Tanzania, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also go along with Finland and Portugal in the sense that we believe the homework has been done already. And the aim was actually to ease the problem with those state parties with a few number of inscriptions. So anything that is in line with that, we support it. And we think 3 is commendable by us. Thank you.
Representative of Poland, may I ask you if you are joining to keep it as 3, and you will add your...
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we do join to keep as it is, 3.
And representative of Burkina Faso.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Ma délégation voudrait tout d'abord faire écho aux félicitations qui ont été adressées à Monsieur le Président du groupe de travail, et également considérer qu'au regard du travail préliminaire qui a été fait et qui a donné suffisamment de temps à des consultations, nous sommes favorables à ce que nous maintenons ce qui a été proposé, à savoir limiter à 3 le nombre de sites proposés. Merci.
Thank you, representative of Croatia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will be also very brief. We will also vote, we are keeping it as it is, 3. Thank you.
And Vietnam, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je suis très bref. Moi aussi, je suis favorable au chiffre 3. Merci.
And Angola, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. C'était pour soutenir la proposition de 3 biens. Merci.
Republic of Korea, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. We also would like to support 3 properties should be kept as it was. Yeah, thank you.
Dear colleagues, it seems that there is a consensus. The majority is in favor of keeping this number as 3, so we can go along with the original text here as 3. May I ask the members of the committee if they do have any objection to the other amendments proposed in this revised text? I don't want to prolong the discussion. That's why I would like to invite the members of the committee to adopt decision 40-11 as revised. I see no objection. It is adopted. I see that there is an observer country asking for the floor on this agenda item, and I would like to give the floor to the representative of China.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor. The Chinese delegation commends your excellent leadership during this session for defending solidarity of the committee. The Chinese delegation appreciates the great efforts undertaken by the ad hoc working group under the leadership of Mr. Tabet in the past 2 days, and fully support the revision of the paragraph 68 of the operational guidelines to avoid any potential crisis of the committee. In favor of such a revision, I would like to remind the distinguished committee members that the Istanbul Conference had made the right decision to leave the disputed proposition to the dialogue between state parties concerned. Although China's proposition on joint research and joint nomination has not received positive response, the bilateral dialogue is still in process. China highly values the spirit of convention and the solidarity of the committee and the constructive proposal of the working group. Bearing this in mind, the Chinese delegation strongly requests the Madam Chair and the committee to postpone review of the disputed proposition on the agenda item 8A until after bilateral agreement is reached. And we will continue to support the revision of paragraph 68 of operational guidelines within the mandate of the ad hoc working group. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. We will discuss agenda item 8A later. I close the agenda item 11. Now we can move to the next agenda item, which is 15, presentation of the final accounts of the World Heritage Fund for 2014-2015 and implementation of the World Heritage Fund under the biennium 2016-2017. Dear colleagues, I would like to give the floor to the chairperson of the working group on the budget to present her report. Is she here? Professor Kionda? Dear colleagues, where is Professor Kionda?
She's here.
She will speak. She will come here or she will speak from?
Come here.
Professor Kionda, may I invite you to the podium?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I have the pleasure to present the outcomes and draft decision related to the document. WHC 1640 COM/15, presentation of the final accounts of the World Heritage Fund for 2014-2015 and implementation of the World Heritage Fund under the biennium 1216-1217. I would like to begin by expressing my sincere gratitude for the confidence you have placed in me and in Tanzania by electing me a chairperson of the Budget Working Group. As you know, the mandate of the Budget Working Group established by the World Heritage Committee on 11th July 2011 as a standing consultative body is to review the committee's biennial budget. That was Decision 35 COM 12B and 13. It is therefore expected from the group to examine the budget document, make recommendations, and report back to the plenary through its chairperson. This year, the Budget Working Group had 4 meetings in July in Istanbul and 2 meetings in Paris. The Budget Working Group was open to all committee members and observers and was attended by 70 participants from 30 state parties, among which there were 14 members of the committee. The debate was focused on the issues at stake, and I wish to thank all state parties for their valuable contribution to the important matters discussed. Their hard work was greatly appreciated. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Director of the World Heritage Center and the Secretariat for their useful presentations and assistance throughout the process. The participation of advisory body was also much appreciated. With regard to the draft decision, which is proposed by the group, I'm now pleased to report on the main issues that were addressed and which are included in the draft decision 40 COM15 to the plenary. Among the key issues are the contributions to the World Heritage Fund, the status of the resources, including human and financial, and the general budget planning process. First, the considerable delay in the payments of the compulsory and assessed voluntary contributions to the World Heritage Fund by state parties was a serious issue of concern and was reflected respectively in the draft decision, as this is unsustainable situation severely compromises the timely implementation of the World Heritage Convention. The draft decision therefore calls upon all state parties which have not yet paid their totality of their assessed contributions for 2016, including voluntary contributions in accordance with Article 16.2 of the Convention, to ensure that their contributions, both due and expected, are paid as soon as possible. Secondly, there's the issue of the limited resources of the World Heritage Fund, which were also duly addressed in several paragraphs, namely paragraph 13, 17, 19, as well as other paragraphs. The impact of the situation on the work of the advisory bodies and the World Heritage Center is duly noted in the draft decision. The working group recalled the committee's previous decisions that conservation should be given priority over nominations. It also recalled its recommendations to reduce and prioritize the work of the Secretariat and proposes that the standard ad hoc group takes this matter on board. Also, in view of the optimization of the use of the resources available and the importance of securing value for money, it is requested that the Secretariat prepare, if funding available, a comprehensive mapping of forms and model for use of advisory bodies by other international instruments and programs for consideration by the extended ad hoc working group and examination at the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee. Furthermore, after examining the available funds, it is proposed that additional funding requests which have been made by ICOMOS for the evaluation cycles of 2016 and 2017 should be met by the World Heritage Fund. This issue is addressed under item 7 of the draft decision. The group proposed to approve both ICOMOS additional funding requests to cover the evaluation of 16 nominations for 2016 and 2017, which will be funded by the operating reserve. In this regard, it is important to note that the planned activities cannot be implemented without the payment of assessed contributions to the World Heritage Fund by state parties. As of 30th September 2016, 46% of the amount for both compulsory and voluntary contribution is still due or expected. The final part of our work concentrated on the general planning process and the long-term sustainability of the World Heritage Fund. Concerning the overall budgetary planning process, the committee requests the World Heritage Center, in collaboration with the advisory bodies, to provide a clear, holistic overview of the global budget framework of the Convention, including the 3 funding sources, in the light of the ongoing process towards UNESCO's integrated budget framework. Secondly, to formulate a proposal for the 2018-19 budget of the World Heritage Fund, which is sufficient to meet the complex statutory requirements as much as possible within the existing budget framework. Third, to ensure the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund in the long run, 2 types of actions are addressed in the draft decision. Measures to enhance the income of the fund on the one hand, and measures to streamline statutory processes on the other. To generate maximum income for the World Heritage Fund, calling for timely compulsory contributions and supplementary voluntary contributions is necessary, but not enough. If the current trends continue, the financial resources of the fund will grossly be insufficient to provide for the statutory processes as well as international assistance and conservation, thereby threatening the credibility of the Convention and the fulfillment of its objective. The working group, therefore, endorses option 1, 4, and 5 of Resolution 19GA-8, and they were found most suitable options among those presented in the 19th General Assembly, and also endorses the proposal in the document WHC 15/20.GA8/8 presented to the 20th General Assembly. proposes to initiate a consultation process on annual fee for World Heritage listed properties on a voluntary basis, and requests the Secretariat to send out a survey to state parties in order to check the possibility of their local administration in charge of management of inscribed sites to pay an annual fee to the fund, depending on their financial autonomy and capacity to pay, and report back to the committee. Proposes that committee continue to explore appropriate ways to ensuring the sustainability of the fund, including through enhanced fundraising. In order to streamline the statutory processes related to the implementation of the 1972 Convention, the working group recommends that the workload requested from the Secretariat and advisory bodies be reduced and prioritized more systematically to align with the financial and human resources available. Many of the elements of the draft decision were discussed by the Budget Working Group in the light of the outcome of the work of the Ad Hoc Working Group, document WHC/16/40.com/13A, and taking into account the issues on the agenda of the Operational Guidelines Working Group, namely with regard to number of nominations to be examined annually. As you can see, a lot of work remains to be done. Yet I hope that our intense discussions during the session will be a further step towards a clearer, fairer, and more sustainable World Heritage Fund. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your attention, members.
Thank you very much, Professor Kionda. Allow me also, on behalf of the committee, to congratulate you for your excellent work on this matter. May I request the members of the committee, if they do not have any objection for the draft resolution that is presented as revised, I would strongly recommend that we move to the adoption of this draft decision, as we are running with time. And I see no objection to my proposal. May I declare that we adopt draft decision 40-15 adopted and item 15 closed. Dear colleagues, we will now have to take a decision on item 13A, which concerns the follow-up to recommendations of evaluations and audits on working methods. As you will remember, the ad hoc working group established by the committee at its 38th session, and which mandate have been extended by the 39th session to further discuss and make recommendations on paragraph 61 of the operational guidelines, as well as on the sustainability of the World Heritage Fund, has met several times during the year under the chairmanship of Turkey. You will recall that His Excellency Ambassador Botsali has presented to us in Istanbul a detailed report on the work of the group as well as its recommendations. However, several questions discussed in the ad hoc working group being related to the operational guidelines as well as to the budget, it was decided that these questions be also discussed during the working groups constituted on these two items. After these discussions, I understand that a draft decision is proposed by several members of the committee. Therefore, I would like to know if one of those state parties would like to take the floor to present the draft decision proposed. So may I ask our rapporteur to present the draft resolution?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. If we could have it up on the screens. I believe that the draft decision as revised by the ad hoc working group, incorporating all the discussions that went on, has been already circulated. However, we have one small amendment to the circulated draft, which takes place in paragraph 7. This is to incorporate the idea of including the issue of discussing paragraph 68 of the operational guidelines and its annexes into the mandate of this extended ad hoc working group. So you can see it in paragraph 7 at the beginning of the yellow color, to further discuss paragraph 68 of the operational guidelines and its annexes, as well as in consultation with the World Heritage Center, and it goes on. The rest of the text just remains the same as the ones that you have in front of you printed out on the blue paper. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will have the same request for the members of the committee. If you do not have any objection to the draft text as revised, I will recommend that we move to the adoption of the draft decision 40-13A. I see no objection, so it is adopted, and item 13A is closed. Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed with our agenda item 8A, devoted to the tentative list and to the draft decision 40-8A. Mr. Bazama, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Document 40-8A presents the tentative list of all state parties submitted in conformity with the operational guidelines as 15 of April 2016. In particular, Annex 1 presents the overall situation relative to tentative lists. Annex 2 of document 8A presents all the new tentative lists or additions to existing tentative lists which have been submitted by state parties since the committee took note of a last session in Bonn. And Annex 3 presents a list of all properties submitted on the tentative list received from the state parties in alphabetical and regional order. As of 15 April 2016, out of the 192 state parties which had ratified the convention at that date, 180 had submitted tentative lists in accordance with the requirements specified in the operational guidelines. 11 states had not submitted any tentative list, and all nominations submitted for examination in 2016 were included on the tentative list. Since the preparation of document 8A for the 39th session of the committee in 2015, up until 15 April last, 26 state parties have submitted new tentative lists or modified existing lists. And the number of new properties added to the existing tentative list is 64, which brings the total of sites currently on the tentative list up to 1,648. The decision 40-8A is on page 3 of both the English and French version of the document. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Balsamo. We have a draft decision in front of us concerning this agenda item. Is there any country, any member country who would like to take the floor? I see Vietnam.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'ai devant moi le document 8A avec les listes tentatives des pays dans les annexes. Comme la discussion concernant l'article 68 des orientations se poursuivra au groupe de travail, à ce stade, je voudrais faire une simple remarque. Les listes tentatives du pays contiennent des dossiers qui sont en état sommaire, dont elles ne nous permettent pas encore de connaître et comprendre d'une façon profonde et complète les dossiers. Ainsi, il nous est indispensable de rappeler et souligner le principe de notre organisation traduit par l'article 11.3 de la Convention de 1972, les points 135 et 138 des orientations de la mise en œuvre de cette convention, à savoir l'UNESCO ne doit pas traiter les dossiers des biens situés sur un territoire faisant l'objet de revendications de la souveraineté ou de juridiction de la part des pays sans le consentement de ces pays concernés. Je vous remercie.
I see no more requests for the floor on this draft decision as it is presented by the Secretariat. May I ask our rapporteur to present the draft decision on the screen? May I ask the members of the committee if do they agree with the draft text, draft decision 40.8a? I see no objection, so draft decision 40.8a is adopted. So, item 8, China, you are asking for the floor? Representative of China, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, China regrets the decision to adopt item 8A, which includes Japan's proposition of the 4 islands. China expresses a strong opposition to this proposition. China and Japan have territorial disputes over Diaoyu Dao and its surrounding waters, and have not carried out maritime delimitation in the East China Sea. Japan's propositions may involve the overlapping area of the 2 countries' maritime claims and serves to enhance its unlawful claim over China's Diaoyu Dao and its surrounding waters. Japan tried to include Diaoyu Dao in its first proposition, which was referred back by the Secretariat. Although Japan has changed the site name and the boundary of the property for the moment, its substance and intention have never changed. This decision is a de facto endorsement of Japan's intention, which will involve the committee in the territorial and maritime dispute between the state parties. This is not only contrary to Article 11.3 of the Convention, but also against the mission of the UNESCO. As a victim of Japanese invasion and with a huge loss of human lives and a huge number of cultural heritage and outstanding universal values destroyed, China highly values peace, cherishes cultural and natural heritage. China has contributed to the committee by its effective participation and donation and the hosting of the 28th conference of the committee. China would like to see the committee keep a neutral, impartial, and objective stand and encourage direct negotiation between China and Japan, and postpone the registration of Japan's proposition until after consensus has been reached by the 2 countries. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Japan is asking for the floor. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to make the following statement regarding this agenda item. Although, according to paragraph 62 of the operational guidelines, A tentative list is an inventory which each state party considers suitable. Therefore, the right and responsibility to prepare and revise the list lies with the state party. With regard to the most recent submission in our tentative list, we have held discussions on a number of occasions with other state parties, including China. Therefore, it is difficult for us to understand the points made by that state party today. The main component of the proposed outstanding universal value of the property lies in the endemic terrestrial species on these 4 islands, affected by the geological isolation and incapable of moving over a wide range of areas. Based on this, the proposed property and its buffer zone will not be extended beyond the 4 islands specifically mentioned. As this property is yet to be nominated, Japan is, of course, willing to continue discussions with other parties on the substance of its file, including with scientists. Regarding the Senkaku Islands, I will not repeat Japan's position as it is well known. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I close agenda item 8A. Yes. Now we can move to the last agenda item we have for this morning session. I would like to now invite Madame Rösler to present the provisional agenda of the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, presented in document 18, which has been distributed in the room. Madame Rösler, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. As you indicated, this agenda has been distributed to you with document 18. I will only make a very few clarifications on this agenda, Madam Chair. Indeed, a part of the usual sub-items concern reports of the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies. Under item 5, you will notice that no report is foreseen on the thematic programs for the forthcoming session, as the decision taken in Istanbul requested an updated result-based report on thematic programs and initiatives only in 2018, and that is at the 42nd session. Please also note that under item 9 regarding the global strategy, we will have to examine the sub-item 9b, which concerns the progress report on the reflection on processes for mixed nominations as requested by decision 39-9b. Regarding item 10 on periodic reports, please note that the sub-item 10a will focus on the report on the periodic reporting reflection and launch as well the 3rd cycle of periodic reporting. You have discussed this earlier this week. I also would like to flag, following the adoption of item 11 at this session, we have also the revision of the operational guidelines under item 11 next year. And finally, Madam Chair, as decided by the committee yesterday, item 12 on the policy guidelines will only be examined by the committee at the 42nd session in 2018. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Madame Rösler. So may I ask the members of the committee if they have any comment or objection on the draft decision that we have in front of us. I see no request for the floor, so I now declare decision 40-18 adopted. May I give the floor to Madame Rösler to give us some information about our afternoon session? You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. First of all, you have all received part 1 of the decisions which were already adopted in Istanbul. The team is now preparing part 2, which will be available around 4 o'clock this afternoon. We will start with the adoption at, my team is nodding here, we will start with the adoption at 5 o'clock. In the same room here, and you have at, I believe at 3:30? 3:30, a presentation on Habitat 3 in room 4. So for those who are interested, please join our ADG, Assistant Director General for Culture, Mr. Bandarin, and the team coming back from Habitat in room 4. You can pick up the copies, as we just said, of the part 2 at 4 o'clock in this room, and we will start with the adoption at 5 o'clock. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Madam Rosner. So we adjourn the meeting and we resume our meeting at 5 p.m.